Thank you for being here with us. Could you tell us a bit about yourself, your professional road from Germany to the UK and back?
Hello, everyone. I'm Holger Volk. I'm currently a professor and department chair at the vet school in Hanover for the small animal clinic. I started my career actually in Hanover at the university. So I studied veterinary medicine here and in Lyon. I had an exchange year, and then I did my PhD here in pharmacoresistant epilepsy, is something I still do. Somehow I couldn't get rid of it during my career. So I still work a lot in epilepsy research. Then went to the UK, did an internship at the Royal Vet College in London. And I think I'm a kind of loyal guy, so I stayed there for quite a while. So I did my residency in neurology and neurosurgery there, and then I first was lecturer, then I became head of service of neurology, then senior lecturer, then I became professor in neurology, and first I did run the small animal clinic there, and then became head of department, so looking after all the clinics they have, equine clinic, the small animal referral clinic, the first opinion clinic, the Beaumont in London, the nursing school and the CPD unit, and also the clinical skills lab. So it was quite a big department, the Department of Clinical Science and Services. And then I stayed there for a long time, and I had then the opportunity to go back to Germany and take up the department chair here. And after nearly 15 years, I did that. And now I'm being back since the beginning of 2019. That's probably my CV in a potted version, like a good old mentor David Church always said. And yeah, and I think there are, one of the things, there's always great people in your life, and he was definitely one of them, getting me to the UK. And then, yeah, and now I'm back to Germany. So it's good to be back.
You worked as a veterinary clinician in Germany and in the UK. Could you briefly compare the countries?
If I compare the countries, so between Germany and the UK, I think one has to say that obviously my comparison is there's a little time gap in between, because when I left Germany, I think the veterinary profession didn't have the same standing as the veterinary profession has in the UK. And then compared to my experience in France, I think the veterinary profession there is kind of in the middle between the two countries. Coming back now, I think the veterinary profession and the vets who graduate have a little bit more self-esteem. They definitely know a bit more that they do have a lot of value. That was not the same when I left. So I think it has improved in Germany, but it's not at the level of what you see in the UK. So as a vet in the UK, you are well respected in society, and people recognize that when they come to you, that there's value for money.
Why do you think international communication, exchange, and communities like FECAVA matter?
So why I think that communities like FECAVA matter, it's to be very simple. I think you meet a lot of very caring and passionate people from every walk of life, from every area of specialization, general practitioners in meeting places, and I think there's a one unity, and that's their passion for the veterinary medicine part. And I mean, we met before, right? And people have a certain vibe around them. I think vets are special. I have to probably say that now, but they are special. And connecting those individuals is second to none. And I do also think, because I've been now traveling the world and have been in a lot of countries, and when you start lecturing to countries which they perceive as not so well developed in veterinary medicine, you meet a lot of extraordinary, amazing individuals who have a high passion and high knowledge for the medicine. And I think having things like FECAVA, WSAVA, and so on really brings out the best in this. And I have been always surprised going to countries which have been, I mean, some of them have been really underdeveloped, and then you find vets who are just exceptionally great and fantastic. I actually think sometimes in the more developed countries, there's more saturation. People are a little more less passionate about it, and FECAVA really brings out the best in all people.
FECAVA is strongly committed to the topic of healthy breeding. You've done a lot of research on Chiari-like malformation and syringomyelia, and as a neurologist, you are well aware of the brachycephalic dog's health issues. Could we touch this topic briefly?
I do think that FECAVA has been, a step ahead of many other organizations. I know that a lot of national veterinary communities as well work very hard to ensure, and I mean, there have been some breakthroughs, like in the Netherlands now with the brachycephalics being kind of forbidden. I think what I really was intrigued by the work from FECAVA was that you guys tried to make it so that the general public will understand, with your mask and the breathing, and to explain it, how it would actually feel to be one of these types of dogs. In the neurology world, I have to say, and I'm don't, because I'm at the end, I'm a, a wicked mind in a little academic body and brain. I do think that the term brachycephalic is personally a little bit of a misnomer, because I think they are brachycorpal, or in some form they don't only have a problem in their in their head formation. We know that their thorax is their neck, there's the abdomen, I mean the joints, the hips. I mean, there's a lot of challenges those little dogs have. I think I think it's a great initiative, because we know that if you get the snout longer, you will obviously improve the other aspects of it. But I think they have such, so many multi problems. When I was the head of department at the RVC, we termed it kind of one of the things, and I'm really sorry if there's anyone listening from the RVC, because we worked on the term transdisciplinary, because I wanted not to have a multi or interdisciplinary hospital. I wanted to have one where colleagues work together. And that came out of a questionnaire where we asked what people really liked. And, then we looked at topics where people could work together, the different specialists. And then there was obviously a trauma center. Dan Chang then, initiated and did a great job in getting this established, where you have multiple areas working hand in hand. But the other one is also brachycephalics, because there's something in for every specialist in the hospital. Is it the ophthalmologist, the anesthetist? Is it the, neurologist? We see a lot of problem with the spine. We see a lot of problem with the head formation. And we see, there's quite a bit of for all of us in this breed, which also shows you that this is probably a multifactorial challenge for all the veterinary profession. And I think that it's just important that we work together to improve the breed standard. I do have to say, and because you just mentioning about the Chiari and syringomyelia and the Cavalier King Charles Spaniels, and there was in the UK, they did a little television program called Panorama. And in that program, the Cavalier King Charles Spaniels were shown to the public what happens with them. And then, the result of that work was not that people then went to longer nosed dogs, because the Cavalier is a lovely dog, right? But obviously has some challenges which need to be addressed. They went then to other breeds, like, sorry to say that now, but the French Bulldog, and even some dogs which are even more brachycephalic and have even more issues. And I think one of the challenges is somehow this baby face like look of these dogs, more looking like us, and having also a little bit the baby like behaviors. And this is one of the things I think we need to somehow tackle, that people realize it's my dog is my baby, to be honest, but it can also be your baby if it has a longer nose, right? But I do think that this is something we haven't tackled, the emotional part of it, and understanding people, right? Yeah, I think what the challenge is for us humans is we always try to make everything humanized. Mm-hmm. And the nice thing, obviously, on dogs is, they are dogs which accompany our life and are lovely creatures which are with us. But we shouldn't make them human.
Recently, you've published very fascinating data on scent detection dogs to identify samples from COVID-19 patients. Could you tell us a bit more about the study?
Sure. So we just finished a recent pilot study. We are actually, as you know, my work is mainly in epilepsy, and we are working at the moment in cognition and how cognition is impacted with having epilepsy. And there's been some really great work done, obviously, in people and other animal models. And when we were looking, how can we look into this a bit more in dogs? And so we looked at cognition also from a scenting type of view. So because dogs obviously they smell better 1,000 times better than us, and so we were looking, can we use that to test their cognition? That was kind of the starting. And then there was this obviously we are all in it at the moment, the pandemic, and I thought, oh, how could we do something which could help everyone? And I called a colleague here, a big virologist, Professor Osterhaus, at the vet school, because we have a laboratory which you can handle those high risk viruses. And I talked about the idea of, hey, could we not look if dogs can differentiate between COVID patients and non-COVID patients and non-SARS-CoV-2 infected individuals? And he said, like, oh, that's a crazy idea. And he thought like, oh, are you sure? And then I sent him some papers, right? Because we all trust those dogs when we go and sit in a plane, because we know the dogs, they probably would have sniffed out most of the explosives, right? But we don't, in the medical world, we wouldn't say, oh, that's a bit bizarre. But there are some really great people who have done some really good work where they have shown that different disease processes can be sniffed out and with a relatively high detection rate, and also some infectious agents. And so I could convince him, send him those papers, and then we said, okay, what can we do? And then we got the medical school in Hanover and one in Hamburg, Eppendorf, the university there involved to get us samples of, because I'm a vet, right, of patients with COVID-19 infected, which were hospitalized. They gave us saliva, and we got also saliva from people who have been totally clear of any infection, have been very healthy, and so on. And inactivated actually the saliva samples of both, but obviously to treat them the same way. And what happened then is that we could train them, the dogs, to differentiate between the sputum of COVID-19 patients and healthy controls. After a very short period of training, we did a study where we used new samples and had in total 1,012 presentations. And those dogs, they had a 94% hit rate between those two extremes, one has to say, right? There was a sensitivity of around 83 and a specificity of 96%. So they were really good when they knew that the sample is positive. They really knew it was positive. So I was really impressed by those results. But I do think people have to be crystal clear, it's just a pilot, hey? We took obviously saliva of very severely affected individuals, and compared it to samples of infected individuals. I think the next step will be to look between symptomatic, asymptomatic, to look at different disease stages, and also to compare to other respiratory diseases. At the moment, what we had a challenge with, because of the springtime, we couldn't get people with influenza virus infection and so on. But I guess fall is coming, and I know that a lot of other groups are working on it as well. So I'm sure there will be more data coming out. But it's definitely an encouraging step in the right direction. But I do hope that people don't think that now suddenly dogs are the answer for everything. But I do also think that dogs might play a role. And what I think might be also interesting is obviously this could also lead to developing further devices.
In the end, do you have any message for European vets?
To be very honest, if I have a message to all the European vets, I would say keep on doing what you're doing. You are all doing a great job, and I know that the time at the moment is a little bit more challenging, but you know, there's only us who are looking after the pets, and I think these are even more important now in the current times than ever before to give people a little bit of stability in their life and something they can love and hang on to. So I think it's a really important job we do.
It has been an honor to speak with you. I wish you all the best in the future.